All right, guys, it is Kieran from Red Devil Weekly, and we are live to bring you another transfer show, another show where we talk about the latest transfer news. But today, as you could tell, I'm not using OBS. I'm not using the same streaming system. I am using StreamYard. I've used it before, and we're going back to it just to, change it up. I like changing it up. I like keeping a bit of variety on the channel, and we've also got a very special guest. It is, of course, the one and only. You've heard him on the channel a lot on calls. We're here now. This transfer Tom. Tom, mate. How are you doing, mate? How are you doing tonight?
Yeah, man, I'm doing good. How's you doing anyway, Kieran?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm very, very good. And obviously, since the big news come out, I'm very, very good as well. And as we go through, guys, make sure you leave your thoughts in the comment section below. And also, please feel free to follow Tom's Twitter as well. Make sure you do that. Really, really good stuff on there. Yeah, I'll put a link into that in the description down below. So make sure you do follow that. But yeah, I've just seen Daz has joined us. Daz, thanks for joining us this evening. What a day. Great signing for United, an important one, because we will 100% make the midfield a lot better. Quality player and quality signing. Yeah, I totally agree, Daz. I couldn't agree more with that. And we're going to start by talking about Donny Van De Beek. And he signed for Manchester United. The fee is 40 million euros plus 5 million add-ons. That will go to Ajax, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's not a bad fee, especially if you look at the fees we played in recent history for players. 40 million euros, what's that? 35 million pounds is not a bad fee, especially for a player with Champions League quality like Donny Van De Beek has. And I think even if he is a backup player, what a backup option to have. Finally, we're not going to have to rely on Pereira and Fred and all these guys coming off the bench. But Tom, obviously, we've talked about this on past streams about what your thoughts are on the signing and stuff. But just to see him in red, what is that? What does that mean as a Manchester United fan? And what do you think he's going to bring to the club?
Well, like I say, I think, Man United, like I said, United have looked at him for a while. It's not just been like United have looked at him the past couple of days and then they've gone in for him. No, he's been on the radar for a while. Last summer, United did make an approach for him. However, it didn't go anywhere at the time because Ajax had just sold a couple of players and everything, and there was holding negotiations sell such as Ziyech at the time, and then they sold him a couple months later down the line to Chelsea. So at the time, they didn't really need to sell. It's like with other clubs at the moment. Such as Leipzig, they don't really need to sell Meccano because they've sold Werner, so they've got money from a top deal for a top player. So they're not really in the need to sell. But I just think the talent, the talent of somebody. He's been to. I've already said about it. He's been to a Champions League semi-final with Ajax. He's beaten top teams such as Juventus and everything to get there. It was only unfortunate. I think it was very unlucky they missed out on the final. He scored against Premier League opposition in the Champions League when he's played Chelsea and Tottenham. He scored both times. So. And obviously he's coming to the Premier League, I just think that when you put it all together and you put the price there of 40 million euros, which equates back to about 36 million, it's an absolute steal compared to, United were looking at paying 75 million just to go and get Jack Grealish on its own. And you've got one player for pretty much half the price of that and has more experience in terms of European football.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was going to say is that for the fee that we paid, I think we're getting a very, very good player. We've got value for money, which is something that we've struggled to get in recent transfers, especially with the amount of money that we've been having to spend, because clubs usually like to pull our pants down or to say with absence of a better phrase, they like to do that. Yeah. They like to take the piss a little bit with the amount of money that we're supposed to spend. And as Issa's just said there, thanks for joining, Issa, by the way. He puts, this was a steal. 40 million is a bargain, especially for the quality Van Der Beek possesses. Hoping to expect more signings along the way. Sancho, Upamecano, let's get these deals done. I totally agree, mate. I totally agree. I hope we can get them done. And we'll probably be speaking about that a bit later in the stream maybe as well. But as I said, it won't be as long of a stream as usual, guys. I've got some stuff on, so I do apologise. We're just going to be talking briefly about all the transfer news today. But maybe it's better just to keep it brief and get the news out there. Who knows? But thanks to everyone who has joined United Hub. I see your tweets, your messages, by the way, mate. Don't worry about not giving me thumbnails or anything like that. I don't pay you, so honestly, don't worry. You haven't disappointed me or anything like that. And obviously, I know it seems like your circumstances right now are pretty bad. So obviously, my best wishes go out to you, mate, and your family.
Same for me.
Yeah, it's honestly, mate, take your time, whatever. Don't worry about doing anything like that. Obviously, you take your time, and it's things. Some things are just more important. Some things are more important. So honestly, mate, don't worry at all. But back to Van de Beek, and for me, just to give my little kind of 2 cents on it, you guys have probably heard it quite a lot, but I just feel like a lot of people are saying, well, you hear a lot of Royal fans really, saying, where's he fit into the team? Who is he going to replace realistically? But for me, I think for me, I don't agree with that anyway. But I think if you look past that, you're looking at squad depth with Van der Beek as well. He doesn't just provide a starter. He's someone who you can bring on from the bench and can really make a difference. He's only 23 as well, so not only are you getting squad depth, but we're investing in the future of the club, and that's what I like about the transfer strategy that we've seen since Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has come in. Where obviously you'd like to see some ready-made world-class talent come into the squad, and hopefully we'll see some brought in before the end of this window if all things go to plan. But you need to invest in the squad that you've got. There's no point in just buying a load of ready-made players and then not investing in the future. And I think I like the fact that we're doing that. I like the fact we are investing in the future. Krishna's joined us. Thanks for joining, Krishna. He says just sign Alcantara. I tell you what, I haven't actually thought about that. I haven't thought about Alcantara at all. I'm not even sure if his name's in the mix. But he wouldn't be a bad player to look at. Wouldn't be a bad little player to look at. But to be honest with you, I don't see that happening. To be honest, I don't think we've been linked to him at all. But hey, Krishna, everyone can dream. Everyone can dream. But the next thing I want to talk about, and you guys can give us your thoughts in the comment section as well. But I want to talk about Sergio Romero and the reports that have come out today, suggesting that his move to Aston Villa for £8 million is getting closer. A lot of reports are suggesting that if the fee has pretty well been agreed, and it's only a matter of time before he joins up with Dean Smith and Aston Villa. And obviously this comes after Dean Henderson recently signed a new contract with Manchester United worth up to £120,000 a week, which is, I feel like it's a little bit much for Dean Henderson, but he's a decent goalkeeper at the same time. So 2 questions really I want to ask you, Tom. Firstly, do you think this is the right move for Sergio Romero and the right move for the club? And secondly, in terms of Dean Henderson, do you think the amount of money in his contract, do you think that's too much? Do you think that's just a ridiculous amount of money to be paying someone like Dean Henderson? Or do you think that's a necessary amount of money to be paying him to play for Manchester United?
Well, I think with Romero, obviously, I've spoken a lot about him, over the last couple of weeks, and I've given a couple of updates on it and everything. And pretty much the latest news that I have is he's very disappointed. He's very unhappy in terms of the management and the coaching staff, because when he has been dropped in the 2 semi-finals, the FA Cup semi-final against Chelsea and the Europa League semi-final against Sevilla, he's not even been given an explanation as to why he's been dropped, and that's the reason for him. And really, behind it all, it's not really Aston Villa or any other club, such as I've spoken about Leeds possibly having an interest in him and everything. It's not really them who's pushing for the move. It's more Romero in terms of it, because he's spoken to his agent. He said, look, clearly I'm going to be third choice here after Dean Henderson's, signed the new deal here and everything, and David De Gea is currently still the number 1. What do I really have? I don't really have that much loyalty to Manchester United if they're not trusting me to play in goal. So that's pretty much the news on that. In terms of Aston Villa, they haven't agreed on the fee as of yet, but they are close to agreeing on it. It is in the region of about 8 to 10 million. There was obviously talk about he's going to be putting a deal for Jack Grealish. Just take that with a pinch of salt, really. I can't see anything of the sort of something like that happening, And I think with obviously Aston Villa, they're in the market for a goalkeeper as of right now, with Pepe Reina only being on loan. They need a goalkeeper, and I think someone like Romero, with the experience he's got, is is a very good option. And then just moving on to what you said about Dean Henderson, I think I think the main sting in the tail is that Manchester United is the age that he is and the amount of money then that he's been given. I think if it was somebody such as David De Gea and you're giving him that much money at say 29, you wouldn't really have a problem with that. But because he's that young and he's obviously going to be second fiddle, maybe even first choice goalkeeper, that depends on what decision Ollie wants to make. But I do think it is a little bit excessive, but I can see why Ollie has done it because there was offers on the table for Henderson to go to Chelsea. I know there was talk of him possibly leaving to go to such as an AC Milan if they got rid of Donnarumma. So there was a lot of talk about Dean Henderson possibly leaving, and it wasn't as in leaving on loan; it was leaving permanently. And and it was a case of United had to stump up the money, and it wasn't really about money for Henderson to stay. It was he's been here in the academy and everything for years now, and his dream was always to wear the number one shirt in goal for Manchester United and following such a legend such as Schmeichel. So I wouldn't necessarily say it's that excessive considering you've signed him up for another 5 years and you can just sit on that for 5 years before you have to pay him any more money. And it's either it's going to be a success at United or it's going to be a bust. Only time will tell, really, with that.
Yeah, that's the thing, isn't it? And I think for me, if you look at the amount of money that's being paid to Dean Henderson, I think realistically it is about how young he is. I would say because you're investing in him staying at the club. What did he sign like a 5-year deal with the club?
Yeah.
He's still very very young, so maybe paying him that sort of salary is definitely an incentive for him to stay for that length of time. And also the fact that Romero is leaving, he's now the second choice goalkeeper. And for a second choice goalkeeper, that sort of fee or that sort of wages isn't actually that that far off. I think if he was a third choice goalkeeper, I think that would be absolutely just ridiculous. But I think for a second choice goalkeeper at Manchester United, especially of the quality of someone like Dean Henderson, who you've seen has been able to, play at a very, very high standard, not only for Sheffield United in the Premier League, but even for England under 21. So he's shown that he has the ability to do that. But I think if Romero was staying and Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was going to say Romero is a second choice goalkeeper, and Dean Henderson was a third choice goalkeeper, no way he should have been earning 120 grand a week. But because he's that second choice goalkeeper, because he'll be fighting for his place with David De Gea, I don't think there's too much of a problem with it. Krishna, on a slightly different topic, is saying Fred should be loaned or sold. Sign up Upamecano with that money. Well, I'm sure we'll talk about Upamecano because obviously you guys want to talk about who's coming in rather than who's going out. But Fred being loaned, I'm not sure I agree with that. Tom, mate, just on Christian's comment there, just quickly, what are your thoughts on that? Do you think, obviously, with Van De Beek coming in, potential talks of Thiago as well, I think they might have died down a little bit, but obviously you've still got the potential of another midfielder coming in, it seems. Do you think that one of Fred or even, McTominay, someone like that, should be loaned out or sold?
Personally, I can't see... Well, situation. Fred wants to stay at Manchester United. He only came here 2 years ago, and usually if a player's been here, such as say Sanchez and everything, he did have a couple of years here, and it didn't obviously turn out well for him. So then he went out on loan. That was the best way of doing it before he got sold on a permanent deal. And I think it's very hard to call at this current time. Obviously, I think a lot of people have heard, such as Galatasaray being tossed about at the moment, and there is some truth in it. Galatasaray have contacted his agents and everything and spoken with his agents, but Fred completely just took hold of it and just said, look, I want to stay at Manchester United. It's as simple as that. And with Fred, it's very different, such as what happened with Sanchez, because Fred has had... Well, when he's played, he's not really been that bad when you actually think about it. I think, obviously, we've had worse players, but obviously... I think he was brought in really to try and take over from someone like Michael Carrick, and it's not really, and it's kind of backfired really, but it's not backfired massively, such as Sanchez did. But no, I think Fred is his heart's in Manchester United. You know, he came from Shakhtar when he had, you know, he was at Shakhtar and he had offers on the table from City, who were challenging for the league. United were only just finished second the last season, you know, and he had offers on the table from such as Barcelona, Real Madrid, but he chose to come to Manchester United. And you got to think such as clubs like Real Madrid and City are in better positions than United at the moment. You know, both of them two clubs are dominating their leagues in Spain and in England at the moment. You know, for the last 2 years with City. But no, I wouldn't expect Fred to be sold at all. Possibility on loan. You know, anything can change. You know, you look at Donny Van De Beek happen pretty much out of nowhere, and then you know. You never know with Fred; it might happen in the next hour. That is, he's on his way over to Turkey, you know. But no, I wouldn't expect. I'd expect Fred to stay this summer for sure.
Yeah, obviously, you know, the main team that, or the main rumours surrounding Fred at the moment are, you know, in Turkey, potentially going over there, and yeah, for me, I think the loan deal is probably the most probable thing. I just think Solskjaer, the way he's used Fred this season, I just don't see the fact. I just don't see him wanting to permanently get rid of Fred. I just don't see that happening. So yeah, but we'll see. We'll see. As you said, the transfer window is very strange. Exactly, unpredictable. That's what I'm looking for. LSR Predicts Live has a bit of insider knowledge for us. It says Sancho is done, according to my sources. So get excited, Reds. I have no idea
Isn't this the guy who said my sources were HP and
I think it is
TK? And when I was talking about Donny Van De Beek, and then it's happened in the following couple of days.
Yeah, I think
very
it
good
was.
sources.
So,
very good sources.
I mean, I would say take this with a pinch of salt. You might want to take this with a bowl of salt, to be honest. I wouldn't trust him. I wouldn't trust him. But listen, we can all hope. Instead, we can all hope. I guess.
Yeah.
Okay, it's better than saying it's not. That's not going to happen. Dazza, thanks for joining, mate. Appreciate it. How did you join the StreamYard chat? I do apologise, Daz. I'm not going to be on for too much longer than I already am. But what I'm going to be starting doing is getting different guests on each time. And mate, you're definitely next in the queue. Don't worry, Dazza. So I'll contact you when I'm going live next. And if you want to come on, then feel free to do that, mate. And I'd love to get you on and talk about it. I mean, if the Thiago rumours are still about, obviously you being a Bayern Munich fan as well, it'd be great to get your insider knowledge on how he plays and whether it'd be a good fit for United. So if those rumours are still about, I'll definitely have you on. And even if they're not, we can still talk about transfers. Krishna says we are competing in the Champions League. Defense and striker must be ruthless. Still no proper right winger. Well, that's obviously where Sancho comes in, and we're going to move on to Sancho in just a sec. But yeah, listen, I think every United fan is not under the illusion that signing Van de Beek is going to solve all our problems. We know we still need at least another 2 or 3 more players to compete at the top level of the Premier League and in the Champions League as well. And that is why, you know, signing a centre back, signing a winger, you know, even potentially signing another fullback is imperative for Manchester United going forward. However, looking on the bright side, Van de Beek coming in is a very, very good start. You know, someone who's very versatile, who can play in a lot of different positions. And even if he's not going to start, he's very, very helpful in terms of squad depth as well. But yeah, the right winger, as Krishna says, we'll talk about it because I've seen just before I went live, there was a little bit of a development from James Cooper on the Jadon Sancho situation, saying that the club has told him that, or it seems like it's a bit of a club briefing, considering James Cooper works for Sky Sports. He gets his news mainly from the club, that the wages and the agents' fees are what is the problem for Manchester United, but the fee and the fee structure is not a problem, and that's what he's saying. Fabrizio Romano is almost saying it the other way around, saying, you know, the fees and the wages are fine. It's the structure of the deal that's the problem. One of the main reasons I wanted to get you on, Tom, was because I was just going to ask you, and I was wondering whether you had any information or any inkling as to what's true and what's not in this situation, really. So what are your thoughts on these developments that we've had tonight?
Personally, there has really the deal's been in like a standstill for the past week, really. You know, and I said that I came on here a couple of, you know, I think it was probably nearly a week ago now, and I said about Donny Van De Beek, people were like, "You're having a laugh," and then a couple of days later, it went viral, and he's signed. Like I say though, it's a lot behind the scenes. A lot of things happen behind the scenes. And that's really where it all comes into fruition. Really, United haven't. The hard part of the deal is the agent. There's an agent in the middle of it all, but it's not Jadon Sancho's agent. It's an agent that Dortmund use for transfers, and it's really weird because I swear, I think the Dortmund and I think Barcelona used to use it a couple of years ago, where they have an agent who is like the negotiator between both clubs. So there's Man United on one side, Dortmund, and then there's the agent in the middle. And both clubs have to contact the agent, and then the agent fires information through. Well, the reason why the deal is taking so long is the agent's not that. Well, I'm not going to dampen him that much. He's not that quick with feeding information to and from both clubs, and that's the problem, really. In terms of the fees and everything, I've been told everything about that. It's completely agreed. Wages, the wage structure is not a problem. He meets in with the wages that Manchester United are prepared to give players that they're going with their transfer policy, such as Donny Van De Beek is coming in here and he's not asked for mega money, such as like Alexis Sanchez did when he wanted to come to United.
Of course,
he's not demanding these major fees, and I think if you don't actually believe in what I'm saying here, Jadon Sancho wants to move. So if he wants to move to Manchester United, why is he going to demand unrealistic fees which was going to complicate the deal and possibly take more, or maybe even completely just default to the deal completely? Jadon Sancho, there's nearly a month, 30 days, however you want to see it left. United want to sign Jadon Sancho, and they want to try and sign a centre back. We'll get onto the centre back probably straight after this. But on Jadon Sancho, it's the wage, the whole personal terms is agreed. Like, it's very similar to Kai Havertz at Chelsea. It is completely agreed, but it's not completely like put out there. So not like everybody's reporting the same thing, because everybody needs to have their say on it. So say the Daily Mirror might say one thing, the Daily Mail might say another, saying, "Oh, it's all agreed." Another one might say it's not. That's how they publicise news, and that's how they get their publicity, should we say? It doesn't mean that it's factual news, but it makes the papers at the end of the day, so they're getting paid. But it's a case of United don't want to pay 108 million. However, no bid has gone in at the moment. The way I'd see it is, with a lot of deals, when the first bid goes in, regardless of if it's accepted or rejected, the deal will happen. Most of the time, if it's close to the evaluation, like with such as Kai Havertz, Chelsea bid 80 million euros. What was it called? Bayer Leverkusen wanted 90 million euros, so they could meet in the middle somewhere and then just put the add-ons on top. And that's what I expect with United. I'd expect United probably go in there with maybe a 85 million pound bid, and then Dortmund obviously want 108 million when you convert it back into British pounds. Then you can somewhat meet in the middle and negotiate. But the whole agent's part and personal terms is completely agreed. You don't need to worry about that at all. It's just the agent in the middle that's the problem. And I think not a lot of people have spoken about it because not a lot of people know about the agent. And it's because not every deal, like you look at the Donny Van De Beek deal, was there an agent in the middle of the negotiation between Ajax and United? No, there wasn't. And that's why it's gone so smoothly, along with other deals. Look at Nathan Ake at Bournemouth, when Bournemouth and City negotiated. There wasn't any agent, went through in a week. So it's really on Dortmund, though, because it's worked for them in the past. They're going to use it in the future. And probably if they sell Erling Haaland, they'll put in the agent again. It's the way they use to get their money, because they use it as a bargaining tool of, you negotiate with who we want or you don't negotiate at all, therefore you don't get the player. So if you don't do it on our terms, nobody wins. But Dortmund want to sell the player, but they're happy to keep them. So all this about Michael Zock saying Sancho staying 100% and everything. You offer a club over 100 million euros for a player, I don't really think they're going to turn it down.
100%,
If Manchester United were offered €100 million for Rashford. They might turn it down because he's a local lad. Maybe if they did it for somebody else, such as De Gea, probably would sell him because it's an absolute steal of money and you can go and invest that somewhere else. So, Dortmund have always been a selling club. They always will be, but in terms of, obviously, the Van de Beek deal is wrapped up and people want to know, well, where United going next? Are they going for the centre-back? Are they going for the right winger? There's basically two negotiating teams. And I'll just briefly say this and then we can move on to the centre-back. Ed Woodward leads a team and Matt Judge leads a team. There's two transfer teams and there's two scouting networks at Manchester United. And the way it works is one team can work on one deal and another team can work on another. And that's how such as Chelsea have got so many deals done because both teams have worked on two deals. So one team's worked on, say, getting in such as Havertz and Thiago Silva. Another team's worked on getting Malang Sarr and such as Timo Werner in, for example. That's how it's worked. So there'll be a team for, say, go and target a centre back, and there'll be a team to target Jadon Sancho, and that's how it works. So in terms of it all, there will be some sort of intensification the next couple of days, possibly another week, where something will break about Jadon Sancho, because it always seems to happen, And I think because it's been talked about that much this summer, United are prepared to wait, but it's not that likely that they will wait, because with United, if you want the player that much, you pay over the odds to get the player. And if it's going to improve the squad, I think Edward would definitely make the assignment and get him. But that's just the latest, really. It's not really that. It's not a massive hold up. It's not like Man United over a barrel or anything. There's nothing of the sort. It's just the agent in the middle that's causing a lot of the confusion and the slowness of the deal. If the agent wasn't in there, you'd have probably seen a done deal by now, if I'm being honest.
Yeah. It always seems to be that way.
Yeah.
It always seems to be that way, to be honest with you. Like, it always seems to be. I think I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure in deals that have been done at Man United and deals that haven't been done at Manchester United, the agent fees have always been something that's been talked about a lot in the press. Have always been one of the main kind of stopping points. But at the same time, you would think that if the agent fees were the only problem, you would also think that a deal is more likely to happen, because if the fees a problem, then it means that the club, potentially doesn't have that sort of money. Whereas the agent fees are nowhere near the sort of transfer fees. So if the agent fees are the problem, then you think a deal's more likely than if the fee is the problem. But yeah, agents always, obviously are out for themselves. They want the best deal for the player and themselves as well. So it always seems to be that way. A few guys have joined us, by the way. G from Red Devil Studio, thanks for joining, mate. Really appreciate it. Thanks for having me on your podcast as well. Obviously, Tom was there, had a great laugh chatting about all things United, all things transfers, and just having but also talking about our expectations for the seasons, of course. So make sure to check out Red Devil Studio if you haven't already. And the Football Crew Show weighs in. He says, glad we got a decent central midfielder. I hope he does settle in well like Bruno Fernandes when he first started in the Premier League. Can you see a departure between Mata, Lingard, or Andreas Pereira? I tell you what, that is a juicy question. I'll probably make that the last question on the stream, because, as I said, we're not going to be on for too much longer, to be honest. But before I answer your question, Football Studio, we are going to talk a little bit about any potential news with Upamecano, and then we'll finish off with your question. I won't forget, don't worry about that. And Krishna says, just want to see Man United destroying Manchester Oil City, Liverpool and Chelsea. Listen, it's coming. It's coming. I fully believe it's coming. Listen, Ollie Showtime Reds are going to be showing up. They're going to be showing up. I don't know whether it's just the Donny Van De Beek. I don't know whether it's just the Donny Van De Beek transfer, but I'm just overcome with positivity and confidence with Manchester United right now. I'm sure that'll die down in the next week when nothing happens, but you have to embrace it while it's here. You know what I mean? And Red Door Studio G says, like the vid, guys. Yeah, appreciate it, mate. Guys, yeah, make sure you like the vid. Can we get to 10 likes before the end of the stream? That's the question, and you guys are the ones that control the answer. But the second to last question, before we get on to Football Crew Show's question, is obviously about Upamecano, and you were saying you wanted to talk about a little bit about any potential, any potential kind of stories and any links that we have on Picano, whether they're true, whether they're not. I'm sure everyone who's watching this have seen the links that we've had with Upamecano in recent days. I've seen a few stories, however, saying that ultimately it's not going to happen. Ultimately, United aren't going to go for it. And then I've seen stories which they have, which is standard Man United transfer window. Let's be honest, it's standard that you have one. If there's a line of tweets, you can have one tweet that says it's going to happen, and then the tweet below said it's not going to happen. It's just standard. We know this by now. But Tom, I want to ask you. This is actually probably the last question on any potential ins at Manchester United. But Upamecano, obviously a brilliant player. We saw him in the Champions League. Probably the highest-rated young defender in Europe right now. Is there any truth with any of the links that we've seen?
There is a bit of truth, I'll say that. And the reason why I say this is United have spoken to the age. Upamecano came out and spoke to, I think it was Goal, that reported it, and he spoke to them, and I think he spoke to Sport Bild, which is a German outlet, run by a man called Christian Falk, who's very reliable for people who want to know. Upamecano, it is very liable that Upamecano is a target for Manchester United. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, I've said, obviously wants to recruit Jadon Sancho, and he wants to recruit a centre-back. And the name that is on everybody's agenda at the moment of mind is Upamecano. And the news is this: Leipzig don't need to sell. They don't need to sell, and it's as simple as that. They got bought out for Timo Werner by Chelsea, so they sold a major player already. For a decent amount of money, so they don't really need to sell at the moment. Nagelsmann's a very respectable man at Leipzig, and his opinion's always taken into consideration, just like any other manager. And he wants the player to stay, and I don't really see why not. Obviously, I think a lot of people have seen he signed a new contract until 2023, and that worried a lot of people to say, "Oh, well, he's completely off now." Everything. United, the way United are working around it is there is truth in it, because the release clause is 42 million euros for Upamecano, which is activated next summer. However, United would not be the only club looking at activating the clause. Any club that needs a defender, I think they're going to go towards Upamecano for that kind of money in a release clause, and then it's his option of where he wants to go. But just on it is, United would be prepared to put an offer in now that is a little bit higher than the release clause price, presuming a club would buy Leipzig out, buy his contract out, that is. So say the fee is around 50 million to 55 million euros. If they sold him now, they would make more money than they would, say, next summer to somebody else. So that's a little bit of a tactic United are using. And it seems a very liable one, because if United did that, they're making more money now than they possibly might next summer, because somebody can easily buy the release clause out rather than negotiating for an actual fee for him. But I think as of right now, United, money is there. Money's not a problem at a club like Manchester United. Money's not a problem. There's obviously been links about Arsenal possibly going and getting him. They signed Gabriel instead, and United need a defender at the moment, and Upamecano's top of the list. There will be talks with his agent about where his head's at. I think obviously he came out and spoke, saying that I've spoken to other clubs about it. United are one of the clubs. United made their interest known to Leipzig a couple of weeks back, stating we're interested, but we might come calling, we might not. It's as simple as that. And if we do come calling, we'll want to negotiate. And obviously then he signed the new contract, which is from the spanner into the works. But as of right now, Upamecano, I would personally expect him to stay at Leipzig just for this season. But I would definitely expect United, if they're still in the hunt for a centre-back, if they didn't sign a centre-back, say, this summer, Upamecano will be their first choice going into next summer. And if they sign Jadon Sancho, it will probably be the priority target for next summer, is to sign a centre-back. So, but I wouldn't expect him to move anywhere. I'd expect him to stay at Leipzig just for this season, and then because they might need to sell a player to balance the books, or just to gain money in from it. They don't need to sell this summer because of Werner. Next summer they might sell for Upamecano. So it's a case of that. But United is a very hot prospect at the moment because obviously additions have been coming in, such as Fernandes. You already had players like Pogba, Rashford, Martial here.
It's a good project. It's a good project for a player coming in.
It's a very good project at the moment, and a lot of players have looked at that and looked at the way they've played this season, and they've seen, well, like Dayton Upamecano, who's 21, he'll be sitting there thinking, well, I'm a young player and this is a young squad. It suits me to sit there and play with this young, youthful squad that is doing so well at the moment, and he's only going to get better and better. So wouldn't I want to go in there, fill a void in the defence, and then it's a case of I could turn this club into title challengers. You're suddenly starting to excite the player, and Ole Gunnar Solskjaer had the talk with Donny Van De Beek, and he was ultimately the deciding factor in why Donny Van De Beek came to Manchester United. So I would expect Ole to try and deploy another tactic, maybe not this summer, but next summer. But as of right now, I wouldn't expect him to come this summer. But next summer, you can come calling again, and I'd probably say it's more likely that deal happens the following summer with the release clause.
Yeah, listen, I think, the Upamecano thing is a dream. It's a bit of a dream, really. If we were to get him, I think to play next to Harry Maguire would be a brilliant signing. I think everyone knows that. But one thing I wanted to add as well. Obviously, you've kind of, you've said most of what I was going to say as well. And you've covered most bases. But what I also want to say was I saw an interview actually, or I saw some quotes. He did an interview recently, and he said that he was happy to stay at Leipzig, but he also didn't know what the future held. So, to me, that sounds like a player
Nobody does.
Well, exactly, and that sounds like a player to me who, whilst it isn't in a rush, and he did say he's not in a rush to move, he is also someone who is open to potentially getting a new challenge. And even if that's not this summer, then that might be next summer. So I think it's a good sign that his head is obviously, still committed to the club, and it shows he's a model professional to still be committed to Leipzig. But he's also open to what potentially could happen in the future. And, he knows that he knows in himself that his ceiling is very, very high. He's a very, very talented player. One of the probably the highest rated defender in terms of, 21 and under in world football right now. He's one of the highest rated young defenders in world football, and he knows he's got the ability to win trophies. So whether it's this summer or next summer, I think Man United's name will be mentioned alongside Upamecano's for the foreseeable future, really. So we'll see what happens. As we said a little bit earlier, the transfer window is very, very unpredictable. Sifo, by the way, thanks for joining, mate. Appreciate it. Always a laugh to have you in. He said about the I'm not sure if you're talking about the Van de Beek deal here. He'd be saying 100% a panic buy because you couldn't get Sancho. Listen, mate, we're just getting started. We're just getting started, mate. Trust me. You should be worried, mate. You should be worried. Krishna Kits, hi Arsenal fan Sifo. Thanks to Madrid giving Sabas on loan to your club. Listen, fair. Arsenal, obviously, that's a bit of business that they've done. They've got to buy us back into Arsenal. Fair play to you. I mean, it's not exactly Van de Beek level, but you got to celebrate the small wins, don't you? Club at Arsenal. He also says Upamecano turned you into title challengers, and with a load of laughing emojis. Listen. As we said before, we know that we're not the finished article. We know we need more players than that, but you can't tell me that signing Upamecano is not going to improve our defense. You can't tell me that. I don't care.
He goes into anybody's team in Europe.
100%. It's the man, Richard Carter. Richard, mate, thanks for joining. Hope you're having a good one, mate. Haven't seen you in a while. Thanks for joining, mate. Appreciate it. He says, I have it on good authority that someone in your study is trapped and requires freedom. Listen, don't believe that. There's no one trapped. There's no one trapped in a room in my house. If there's any police watching, please, this is a hoax. And listen, I in the end of the day, just dropping by, or cheers for that. Cheers for dropping by.
More like dropping you in.
More like dropping me in the shit. Thanks, Richard. Appreciate it. It's always good to see Richard on the streams. When was the last time he was on? Probably about a year ago. And this was someone who wanted to be a mod, by the way. No, listen, Richard, it's all good. It's all good, mate. Thanks for joining. Maybe you have any sort of maybe you've got any thoughts on Man United's transfer business. We'd love to hear it. We'd love to hear it as we get close to wrapping up. Because as I said, I'm not going to be on too much longer. But I did say the last question we're going to touch on quickly. Football Crew Show asked about potential departure from Mata, Lingard, or Andres Pereira. Obviously, Deadwood, realistically. I'll put up that comment on the screen. Deadwood, realistically, at the club. Now, I haven't seen too many rumours about either any of those players leaving the club at this moment in time. Solskjaer has come out and said that he backs the squad. He backs the likes of Lingard, Mata and Pereira. I think for me, Solskjaer is one of those managers who I can't see being that ruthless in the transfer window. However, Romero's gone, and obviously there was talk about the relationship between the two kind of not being that great. So maybe he does have a little bit of a ruthless streak in him, where if you're not on my level, if you're not on the same wavelength and you're not on the same path as wanting to win trophies with me, and if I don't think you're good enough, you're out the door. And I think that is a good trait to have, even if it is a bit cutthroat.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But the final thing we're just going to talk about just quickly is on what Football Crew Show saying there. The Deadwood. What are the talks within the club and around the kind of media about potential departures in terms of Deadwood in the squad? Have there been any kind of rumours that have come out recently? I mean, I haven't seen them personally. But I'll ask you, Tom, what is the likelihood of any of those three players mentioned leaving the club this summer?
Well, I'll add one more player probably to that list, and that'd probably be Chris Smalling. I sent you the tweet about it and everything. I said AS Roma went away from the negotiating table for some time, and now they've come back. And when a club comes back to the table when they've just left, it means that they want the player even more than they did before. So, and like we've said about United wanting to sign a defender, I think if they don't sign a defender, Chris Smalling probably stays at United. If they do, I would expect then United to put that money towards going and getting somebody. But touching on the players that that Football Crew Show's just said about, he said about Lingard, Pereira, and Mata. Around Mata, it's very, very quiet at the moment. I would expect Mata to stay probably for another year, but don't be getting any ideas of he's going to play in all the major games against City and stuff, and we're going to get absolutely, he's going to run him into the ground and everything. Mata's completely complicit with being a squad player. He's a respectable person in the dressing room. Everything that he's done for charity and everything is very, very respectable around what he's done. Outside of football, just like what Rashford's doing now, with such as kids that are in his position when he was young. So it's just the exact same. But I'd expect Mata to stay at United this summer. I've not heard anything about that. Pereira is a funny one. There is a bit of a development. It's not major. It's not like he's on the plane. He's already in the country and everything. And that's around his old club where he went on. I think he went on loan, and I think United have put him out on loan there a couple of times, and that was Valencia. Now, Valencia have put every single player at their club up for sale, which is a very strange thing to do. But they're needing money at the moment. And Andres Pereira is a player that they want, not necessarily to buy, but they would like to loan him for the season. They have loaned him previously, and there was no problem with loaning. It was a straight loan, and then just a couple of million for the loan, and then if they wanted to put an option to buy in, which they never did. However, this time round, if there is going to be a loan deal for him to go to Valencia, Valencia want an option to buy of around, I think it was, I think it was around 12.5 to 15 million euros that they wanted to put in there, which equates back to roughly around probably 9 or 10 million if you convert it back. And to be honest, Ollie's obviously wanting to get rid of some of these players. When you bring in such as Van De Beek to the squad, questions are going to be asked of such as Lingard and Pereira, and that's probably why links are going to intensify. Regarding Lingard, again, he's obviously towards the end of the season, if we're being honest, he did pick it up a little bit, but he didn't pick it up majorly, but he didn't perform badly enough to go and help United lose the game. He has made a little bit of an impact in games, but at the moment, I said about there was Italian clubs that were interested, but it's not really been interest that's gone anywhere. I know AC Milan was a team at the time that were interested in buying players and everything. I know Inter Milan was a club. However, given the situation regarding Ivan Perisic and if he's going to go back to Bayern Munich permanently or if he's going to go back to Inter Milan, well, that's a different question. They've just obviously signed Alexis Sanchez on a permanent deal. So they don't really need to sign Lingard if they wanted to play him on the wing. If they want to play him as a midfielder, then possibly. But at the moment, it's very quiet around players leaving United. The only player I'm hearing a lot about at the moment is Chris Smalling possibly going to Roma. And that's only because they've come back to the table. But as of right now, I wouldn't expect there to be that much talk around players leaving at the moment because there's been such of a lift in the club with signing somebody. And it never normally happens. Like today, you'll hear about somebody signing. Tomorrow, you hear about somebody leaving. It'll die down for a couple of days and then it'll intensify again and it'll ramp up again. But at the moment, the only player I'm hearing possibly leaving at the moment is Chris Smalling. And that's really it at the moment. Chris Smalling and a couple of links with such as Romero at the moment. But whether these links are going to be put fully through 100%, that's another question. But probably in the next week or two, you know, players will start talking because it's coming towards the deadline day, the busiest day of the year for football clubs. You know, then you can talk about players maybe going out on loan or something because it's a last minute little bit of business. But yeah, that's just the update on them all and everything.
Well, there you go. I mean, that hopefully that answers your question, Football Crew Show. But yeah, I think it has been quiet. Sorry, I was just fiddling around there. But yeah, it has been quiet on United outgoings really, apart from Sergio Romero. But I think as the transfer window goes on, I think we will start to see more. Obviously, you've got the Chris Smalling deal as well. But as I said, guys, I'm going to wrap up pretty well now, or at least very, very soon. I just want to end on this, actually. I want to end on this comment from Sifo, who says, Gabriel will do for us what Virgil van Dijk did for Liverpool. Mark my words. So, guys, title within 2 seasons, he says. Make sure you screenshot this. Make sure you don't let Sifo forget this. In 2 seasons' time, the title is coming to Arsenal. Listen, that I like those sort of predictions. It's bold. I applaud you. I applaud you for the courage to make that sort of prediction. If it doesn't come right, it's not a good day for Sifo and it's not a good day for Arsenal. But listen, Gabriel, I don't think he's the bad signing for Arsenal, but he is a bit untested. But I'm not going to say that if he came to United, I wouldn't have been happy. I would have been happy, but we'll have to see, mate. We'll have to see. But I admire your confidence. But guys, that's the end of it. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching. If you haven't already, please do leave a like. Let's try and get to 10 likes on the video. That'd be absolutely brilliant. Transfer Tom, thank you so much for coming on, mate. Really appreciate it as always. Thank you very much for coming. I hope you enjoyed it. And make sure you do, follow him on Twitter and all that good stuff. I will put a link in the description down below if you guys are still watching this far. Thank you for watching, guys. Really appreciate it. And I'll be live very soon, hopefully with more transfer news and just more to talk about with United, because a lot of stuff is coming out thick and fast. So on this channel, I hopefully will be covering it as best I can. So thank you very much for watching, guys. Really appreciate it. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching.